You know, some stories are just so epic, so sprawling, they feel like they have to be fiction. But this one is absolutely real. Today, we're going to trace the incredible, documented history of a single family and their 800-year fight for freedom, a story of knights, rebels, and pioneers, all connected by one name, Gould.
I mean, seriously, how is that even possible? How can you actually trace an unbroken line from the age of castles and crusades all the way to modern America? Well, the answer is in the records, and it all kicks off with one single act of bravery hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
And this is our roadmap. This amazing hand-drawn family tree is going to be our guide. It charts the Gould family through 30 generations. Just think about that. Every single name on here is a link in a chain that stretches across 8 centuries. So let's follow this map all the way back to the very beginning.
Okay, so our story doesn't start in some dusty library. Nope, it starts on a battlefield way back in the 13th century during the Fifth Crusade. This is where the family's whole legacy of standing up for a cause was first forged in fire.
So let's meet the man who started it all, John Gould, or as we know him, Gould. He was born in 1195, and he wasn't a king or some high and mighty nobleman. He was a soldier, and during the absolutely brutal siege of Damietta in Egypt, his bravery really stood out. When he got back to England, that courage was rewarded, and it basically set his entire family on a brand new path. And this isn't just some family legend passed down over the years. This is recorded history. This quote right here confirms that John Gould's service earned him land and a title. Just wrap your head around that for a second. This one estate in Seaborough, it stayed in his family for almost 300 years, all because of that one moment of valor on the battlefield. All right, let's fast forward a few hundred years to the 17th century, because this is where the family's story takes a huge turn. They're not just serving a king anymore. Now they start fighting for an idea, the idea that power should belong to the people, not just to one person wearing a crown. So this was the big fight during the English Civil War. On one side, you've got King Charles I, who was all about the divine right of kings. Basically, he believed he answered only to God. And on the other side, you have Parliament, fighting for a totally new kind of government, one with rights for its citizens. The Goulds, they had to pick a side. And they didn't just pick a side, they went all in. Historical records show a Captain Gould leading troops for Parliament, so the very same family that once fought for the crown was now fighting against it. They had become rebels for the cause of republicanism. You know what they say, you can tell a lot about people by the company they keep. Well, the Goulds were standing shoulder to shoulder with major players in the rebellion, guys like Major John Fenwick, who was a die-hard officer in Oliver Cromwell's army. This alliance, and the ideals they were all fighting for, wouldn't just shape their lives in England, it was about to carry them clear across the Atlantic.
So when you risk everything to fight a king, and then the monarchy gets put back in power, well, things get pretty dangerous. The Goulds found themselves on the losing side of history, and their fight for freedom now needed a new home, America.
When you lay it out, the chain of events is crystal clear. Step 1, they sided with Parliament. Step 2, the monarchy comes back, and suddenly they're political outcasts. England just wasn't safe for them anymore, so step 3, in 1664, 3 brothers pack up and set sail for the New World, not just for a fresh start, but to keep their political experiment going. And those connections they made back in the war, they mattered. Their old comrade, Major Fenwick, had already gone and founded a colony in Salem, New Jersey. So, of course, the families reconnected, and that bond became permanent when a Gould married Fenwick's own descendant. They weren't just random immigrants. They were part of this tight-knit network of rebels building a new society from the ground up.
But this whole fight for freedom thing is never a straight line, is it? As America started to forge its own identity, the Goulds found themselves smack in the middle of the country's biggest fights, and it often came with some really heartbreaking consequences.
Just 100 years after their ancestors fled a king, the Goulds had to decide whether to fight another one. And this is where it gets complicated. Many of them, like John and Timothy, jumped right into the patriot cause, carrying on that family tradition. But not all of them. Another John Gould, from a different branch of the family, sided with the British. The American Revolution literally tore this family in two, and the Loyalist side ended up exiled to Canada. Freedom clearly meant something different depending on which Gould you asked.
Less than 100 years later, the nation was at war with itself, and again the family answered the call. During the Civil War, Alexis and William Gould fought for the Union, and both of them made the ultimate sacrifice, dying from wounds they received in some of the war's most ferocious battles. That family legacy of defending their ideals was now literally written into American soil, paid for in blood.
Okay, so after all those centuries of war, rebellion, migration, what does it all lead to? Well, it leads to this incredible, unbroken thread that connects that 13th century crusader all the way to today.
Let's look at our guide one last time. From John the Crusader way up at the top, down through the rebels, the pioneers, the soldiers of the Revolution and the Civil War, every single line on this chart represents a life, a story that carried that legacy forward. But this isn't just some abstract historical document, it's so much more personal than that.
I want you to look really closely, down in the bottom left corner. After all the names, all the dates, all the massive historical events, the person who drew this entire thing added two simple, powerful words: me. In that one little note, 800 years of history stops being a history lesson and becomes personal. It's the perfect reminder that these epic stories from the past are still alive, right inside of us.
And that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The story of the Goulds is just this incredible testament to one family's long journey. But it's also kind of like a challenge to the rest of us. What stories of bravery, of rebellion, of sacrifice might be hiding in your own family tree? What historical threads are you carrying forward right now?